And obviously, if the audience doesn't know, there's a lawsuit latched out of South Florida. Two lawyers have sued the Democratic National Committee on behalf of Bernie Sanders voters, even people, Bernie Sanders donors, and also DNC donors. They had a court date a few months ago. The judge actually did not dismiss it outright. I don't believe there's another court date scheduled. I could be wrong. And essentially, they are citing fraud.
Yes, this is a class action fraud claim against the DNC brought by Jared and Elizabeth Beck.
Right.
And
I wanted to ask you: Do you plan on making that part of your campaign? B, theoretically, if it goes forward within your race, Debbie Wasserman-Schultz could be called.
She could be deposed.
Right. She could be called to testify. How large a part do you want to make it? There are a lot of people in the progressive wing that want justice for what happened then, including me. But at the same time, how big can you make that a part of your campaign?
It's not a big part of the campaign, but I don't see the point of avoiding the discussion. If you believe in the rule of law, why should you oppose a lawsuit? Let the court system run its course. This is an interesting case that the Becks brought. It's based on the DNC's own bylaws and charter, which requires impartiality and fairness in the process. The WikiLeaks shows overwhelmingly that they were quite partial to one candidate and against Bernie Sanders. So they brought a lawsuit, and I'm interested to see how it goes. At that one hearing that you mentioned, the lawyers for Wasserman-Schultz and the DNC made some startling statements. They first tried to claim they were not partial to one candidate, even though the evidence suggests otherwise. And then, in the alternative, their argument was even if we were partial, we're allowed to be. We can ignore our own bylaws, we can ignore our charter, and we can, I think he said, smoke cigars in a back room and choose our candidates that way. Now, I hope that's not the real position of the Democratic Party moving forward.
And in terms of that, do you have any concerns? Because the lawyers have said that there's been intimidation, death threats at them. Obviously, we don't have any evidence of it's coming from her. But do you have concerns that Debbie Wasserman-Schultz or other people associated with her are trying to intimidate in any way?
There are some reports that just came out in the last 48 hours claiming that Mr. Awan, her IT specialist, was involved in distorting the voice of phone calls that were made. And this is one of the allegations that the Becks made, that they received at their law firm phone call, I think a series of phone calls asking about the case in which the voice had been disguised, but the caller ID had not been disguised, and they traced it back to Wasserman-Schultz's Aventura office. I have no idea what's true and what's not here. These are bizarre allegations, but with Wasserman-Schultz, who knows what's possible, right? There's always some drama involved. I'm not planning on making the DNC fraud lawsuit a huge part of my campaign. I think most folks want to hear about the issues, the bread and butter issues. But by the same token, I can tell you, just as a candidate challenging the head of the DNC last time and a powerful incumbent, we get lots of phone calls that are threatening. We look over our shoulders. It's terrible that one has a feeling of intimidation, but this is a time that requires a lot of courage and a lot of leadership.
Right.
And folks have to be willing to speak the truth to power, and speak the truth to those without power.